Hello, good morning. I hope you're having or have had a blessed day. We're not going to talk a lot about this, but real quick before we start, because 31 and 32 of Deuteronomy are quite long. Pray, like always. Always pray. Be praying incessantly all the time. I'm trying real hard to figure out how to say this without being a jerk or some kind of flock cameras. Like any time that the government is about to take away freedoms, privacy. Like when George Bush signed some stuff in that allowed them to look at your phone calls and stuff, which they should have never been able to do. Unless you're already, right, going to trial over something. Right, but they shouldn't be able to do that just because they want to. Flock cameras are just another part of the slippery slope in which you lose freedoms and you lose privacy. And what they sell it to you as, what they always bundle it as, is safety. Because human beings are willing to give up almost any kind of freedom to feel secure. Now, why am I bringing this up right now? We study the Bible here. Why am I talking about flock cameras? The Israelites were saved by God from slavery in Egypt. But they were willing to give all that up and go back to being slaves just so they could have fruit to eat. Human beings are willing to give up an unimaginable amount to feel safe. Go watch The Minority Report if you never have. It's an old movie. Go watch it. Flock cameras are going to help them do that right there. They're going to help them arrest you before you've even done something because they're tracking where you've been, where you're going, what that means to them, whether you've done anything or not. Right? If you live in a state where marijuana isn't legal, look, if man made the drug, I don't think you should take it unless you have to. Blood pressure medicine, right? Something like that. But like, anytime you take plants that God put here and then start messing with them, right, and make something like cocaine, you can't. But marijuana, God put it here. I'm not going to sit there and fight with you over that. But there's a ton of states now where it's perfectly legal. There's a ton of states where it's mostly legal. Like you can have some, just not too much, or whatever like that, right? But they're putting flock cameras at every state border, on every bridge, major bridge, or anything they can, every major crossing they can. Why? Why are they doing that? So if you drive to a friendly state to buy some, and drive back to your state, and you do that a few times, they're going to pull you over on the way home one day. And they're going to have you. Even though they have zero probable cause except for them tracking you on a camera, which should be illegal unless you've already committed a crime. They're going to sell it to you, right? It's safety and make you secure. If someone kidnaps your kid, we're going to track that car with our flock camera. They don't have them. Yeah, because they're going to drive down the major roads and get caught. You're an idiot. This is not about safety and security. This is about control. It's the same thing every time. It's about control. That's what this is about. Don't mistake it for something else. And don't give up your freedom from slavery to have some fruit. Don't do it. All right. Yeah, I would like to think it feels like maybe in a week or so my voice is going to be back. My butt is never going to heal, I've decided, but my voice might be back. It's not back, but every great now and then it is, just for a second, you know. So, I don't know. Maybe we're heading towards you being able to hear me again. I'm so sorry. Now, 31 and 32 are long, okay? But it's important. We get a lot of Joshua here, and Joshua's our next book. So, I hope I'm saying this. Pay attention. When Moses had finished speaking these words to all Israel, he said to them, I am now 120 years old, and am no longer able to go out and come in. Besides, the Lord has said to me, do not cross this Jordan. It is the Lord your God who will cross before you. He will destroy these nations before you, that you may dispossess them. It is Joshua who will cross before you, as the Lord promised. The Lord will deal with them just as he dealt with Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, and with their country, when he destroyed them. When, therefore, the Lord delivers them up to you, you shall deal with them according to the whole commandment which I have given you. Be strong and steadfast, have no fear or dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who marches with you. He will never fail you or forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua, and in the presence of all Israel said to him, be strong and steadfast, for you shall bring this people into the land which the Lord swore to their ancestors he would give them. It is you who will give them possession of it. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you and will never fail you or forsake you. So do not fear or be dismayed. When Moses had written down this law, he gave it to the Levitical priests who carry the ark of the covenant for the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. Moses commanded them, saying, on the feast of booths, at the prescribed time in the year of remission. Year of remission, do we remember what that is? Right. Every 7 years you give back, and you let a late fallow, and you let right, and then we got the booths. If you forget any of this, that is perfectly okay. Just keep it kind of loosely so you can say, oh yeah, Feast of Booths, I remember we were talking about that, and that came, and we were, these things, you just try to kind of put them in their place, keep them together. Don't worry about remembering every little bit. I may not be alive long enough, but if I am, we'll read this Bible again next year. My point is, when you read it over and over again, it starts to really settle in. I am not some brilliant theologian. We've discussed that, right? I know the Bible because I have read the Bible. I had an acquired brain injury 19 years ago. My family was told that if I lived, we're not going to get into the whole wreck and everything, how bad it really was. But my family was told, my wife at the time was told, if he lives, which he won't. That's like they would tell him, he's not going to. But if by some miracle he lives, he'll be a vegetable. You'll have to feed him the rest of his life. You'll have to wipe his butt. He will never be able to do anything for himself again. The best you can hope for him, really, is that he doesn't live. I had an acquired brain injury 19 years ago, and now we sit here together reading the Bible with degrees on the wall that say I can still go through college if I want to. God decides, not doctors. Yeah? At the prescribed time in the year for remission, which comes at the end of every 7-year period, I didn't have to do all that. When all Israel goes before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses, you shall read this law aloud in the presence of all Israel. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, all as well as the resident aliens who live in your communities, that they may hear and so learn to fear the Lord your God, and to observe carefully all the words of this law. Their children also who do not know it yet, shall hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as you live on the land which you are about to cross the Jordan to possess. The Lord said to Moses, the time is now approaching for you to die. Summon Joshua and present yourselves at the tent of meeting, that I may commission him. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves at the tent of meeting, and the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting in a column of cloud. The column of cloud stood at the entrance of the tent. The Lord said to Moses, soon you will be at rest with your ancestors, and then this people will prostitute themselves. Do you hear him? 40 years, all this that they've gone through, all that. Moses is absolutely just, he's begged God to not kill him. He's worked, he's toiled all these years just to make sure his people find the promised land. You know, even though he can't cross the Jordan and be a part of it, you know this man, his heart is filled with joy. His people are about to enter the promised land, and he is about to be gathered to his Lord and his ancestors. This man is full of joy right now. And then what does God tell him? You will soon be with your ancestors, and then this people will prostitute themselves by following the foreign gods, among whom they will live, and in the land they are about to enter. They will forsake me and break the covenant which I have made with them. At that time my anger will flare up against them. I will forsake them and hide my face from them. They will become a prey to be devoured, and much evil and distress will befall them. At that time they will indeed say, is it not because our God is not in our midst that these evils have befallen us? Yet I will surely hide my face at that time because of all the evil that they have done in turning to other gods. Now write out this song for yourselves. Teach it to the Israelites and have them recite it, so that this song may be a witness for me against the Israelites. For when I have brought them into the land flowing with milk and honey, which I promised on oath to their ancestors, and have eaten and are satisfied and have grown fat, if they turn to other gods to serve them, despising me and breaking my covenant, then when great evil and distress befall them, this song will speak to them as a witness. For it will not be forgotten in their descendants recite it. For I know what they are inclined to do, even at the present time, before I have brought them into the land which I promised on oath. So Moses wrote this song the same day, and he taught it to the Israelites. Commission of Joshua. Now just for the record, we're about chapter 31, almost the entire chapter is the song. That's what we're going to be. That's the entire next chapter. It's basically just reading the song. So I know you just heard about the song. Now we're just going to something else. We're going to be back on the song just a second. Then he commissioned Joshua son of Nun and said to him, be strong and steadfast, for it is you who will bring the Israelites into the land which I promised them on oath. I myself will be with you. When Moses had finished writing out on a scroll the words of this law in their entirety, Moses gave the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord this order. Take this book of the law and put it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that there may be a witness against you. For I already know how rebellious and stiff-necked you will be. Why, even now, while I am alive among you, you have been rebels against the Lord. How much more then after I am dead? Assemble all your tribal elders and your officials before me, that I may speak these words for them to hear, and so may call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you are sure to act corruptly, and to turn aside from the way along which I commanded you, so that evil will befall you in time to come, because you have done what is evil in the Lord's sight, and provoked him in your deeds. Then Moses recited the words of this song in their entirety for the whole assembly of Israel to hear. Yeah. If I was sick, I'd sing it for you. I'm lying. I wouldn't. I can't sing a lick, y'all. My diaphragm is partially paralyzed. My lungs don't work great. And to be frank, I never could sing real good. So, I could used to carry a tune in a bucket, but I can't even do that now. So we're just going to read it. Give ear, O heavens, and let me speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth. May my teaching soak in like the rain, and my utterance drenched like the dew, like a downpour upon the grass, like a shower upon the crops. For I will proclaim the name of the Lord. Praise the greatness of our God. The rock, how faultless are his deeds, how right all his ways. A faithful God without deceit, just and upright is he. Yet his degenerate children have treated him basely, a twisted and crooked generation. Is this how you repay the Lord, so foolish and unwise a people? Is he not your Father who begot you, the one who made and established you? Remember the days of old, consider the years of generations past. Ask your father, he will inform you, your elders, they will tell you. When the Most High allotted each nation its heritage, when he separated out human beings, he set up the boundaries of the peoples after the number of the divine beings. But the Lord's portion was his people, his allotted share was Jacob. There's some I want to tell you, but I also don't want to stop, because this is poetry, and I like to read poetry, and so you don't stop in the middle of poetry and talk about poetry, you just keep reading it. But anyway, we're going to just real quick. Allotted share was Jacob. That should be easy for you to understand. The divine beings. What? Tertiary deities. Right? Anytime I read the word God in here, and it's not talking about God, it's lowercase. Right? God is always uppercase. These other gods are lowercase. Members of the divine assembly, sons of God. Right? Think of it like that. Yeah. Sorry, but the Lord's portion was his people. His allotted share was Jacob. He found them in a wilderness, a wasteland of howling desert. Dang it. Frustrates me when I can't. I just want all this to go away. He shielded them, cared for them, guarded them as the apple of his eye. As an eaglet sights its nestlings hovering over its young, so he spread his wings, took them, bore them upon his pinions. The Lord alone guided them. No foreign god was with them. He had them mount the summits of the land, fed them the produce of its fields. He suckled them with honey from the crags, and olive oil from the flinty rock, butter from cows, and milk from sheep, with the best of lambs. Bashan bulls and goats, just really good bulls. Bashan bulls and goats, with the cream of finest wheat, and the foaming blood of grapes you drank. Foaming blood of grapes you drink that God provided you. Why would grapes be foaming? Oh yeah, because they're fermenting. They turn into actual wine, not grape juice. This is one of those arguments I'm tired of. But it's not biblical. Nowhere in the Bible does it say don't drink. Not one time. It says don't be a drunkard. Fair enough. If you can't have one beer without having 12, don't drink. Never says don't. In fact, Jesus Christ says, have some wine, not grape juice. You don't think he knows the difference? The divine being, you don't think he knows the difference. Have some wine for the health of your stomach. I think he says health of your gut. So Jacob ate and was satisfied. Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. You became fat and gross and gorged. They forsook the God who made them and scorned the rock of their salvation. With strange gods they incited him. With abominations provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons, to no gods, to gods they had never known, newcomers from afar, before whom your ancestors had never trembled. You were unmindful of the rock that begot you. You forgot the God who gave you birth. The Lord saw and was filled with loathing, provoked by his sons and daughters. He said, I will hide my face from them and see what becomes of them. For they are a fickle generation, children with no loyalty in them. Since they have incited me with a no God, and provoked me with their empty idols, I will incite them with a no people. With a foolish nation, I will provoke them. For by my wrath a fire is kindled that is raged to the depths of Sheol. It has consumed the earth with its yield and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap evils upon them and exhaust all my arrows against them. Emaciating hunger and consuming fever and bitter pestilence, and the teeth of wild beasts I will send among them, with the venom of reptiles gliding in the dust. Out in the street the sword shall bereave. Out in the street the sword shall bereave, and at home the terror for the young man and the young woman alike, the nursing babe as well as the gray beard. I said, I will make an end of them and blot out their name from human memory, had I not feared the provocation by the enemy, that their foes might misunderstand and say, our own hand won the victory. The Lord had nothing to do with any of it. For they are a nation devoid of reason, having no understanding. Now, before I finish this, I do want to just look. Worship these false gods is going to bring destruction, right? Everybody knows that. They know that. Everybody knows that. So, like, a no God is when he talks about a no God, he's talking about foolishness, because if it's a man-made idol and you're worshiping, I mean, what is it? It's a piece of wood. It can't do crap to you, right? No God, no people, right? He calls it specifically, you worship no God, and you are no people now, right? He's just saying. The people he says gets it are nobody, they're nothing. You don't even think about them. And then he stirs them up. You're no people. They were no people. And you're worshiping no gods. Anyway, continuing on. I don't want to beat it up, but I want you to kind of at least pay attention to it, because I think it's important. For they are a nation devoid of reason, having no understanding. If they had insight, they would realize this. They would understand their end. How could one rout 1,000 or two, put 10,000 to flight, unless it was because their rock sold them? The Lord delivered them up. Indeed, their rock is not like our rock. Our enemies are fools. For their vine is from the vine of Sodom, from their vineyards of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of poison, and their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the venom of serpents, the cruel poison of vipers. Is not this stored up with me, sealed up in my storehouses? Vengeance is mine and recompense for the time they lose their footing, because the day of their disaster is at hand, and their doom is rushing upon them. Surely the Lord will do justice for his people. On his servants he will have pity. When he sees their strength is gone, and neither bond nor free is left, he will say, where are their gods, the rock in whom they took their refuge? Who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their libations? Let them rise up now and help you. Let them be your protection. See now that I alone am he, and there is no God besides me. It is I who bring both death and life, I who inflict wounds and heal them, and from my hand no one can deliver. For I raise my hand to the heavens and will say, as surely as I live forever, when I sharpen my flashing sword and my hand lays hold of judgment, with vengeance I will repay my foes and requite those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh with the blood of the slain and the captured, from the long-haired heads of the enemy. Exult with him, you heavens, bow to him, all you divine beings. For he will avenge the blood of his servants, take vengeance on his foes. He will requite those who hate him, and purge his people's land. So Moses together with Hoshea. So there we go. All right, that's it. We read it. That's the song. that they were to read aloud to the entire peoples every time. Because we learn things orally. We talked about this. So Moses together with Hoshea, look, I'm not going to do this. So Moses together with Joshua, that's all that is. Different name, don't. So Moses together with Joshua son of Nun went and spoke all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. When Moses had finished speaking all these words to all of Israel, he said to them, take to heart all the words that I am giving you in witness against you today. Words you should command your children, that they may observe carefully every word of this law. For this is no trivial matter for you, but rather your very life. By this word you will enjoy a long life on the land you are crossing the Jordan to possess. On that very day the Lord said to Moses, ascend this mountain of Abiram, A-B-A-R-I-M. Abiram, yeah, Abiram. That's right. Anyway, ascend this mountain of Abiram, Mount Nebo, in the land of Moab, facing Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites as a possession. Now, you can read this and think how beautiful it is. Moses, after all these years, trying to protect them, trying to help them, trying to lead them towards God and do what God says, he gets to go up on top of the mountain before they all cross over into the promised land. He gets to look upon the promised land. Or you could say, he's 120 years old, God just told him to climb a mountain. Because that happened. My point is, faith doesn't care how old you are. You can be 120 climb a mountain as long as your faith in God is strong enough that God tells you to. Anyway. Sorry. Ascend this mountain of the Abiram, Mount Nebo, in the land of Moab facing Jericho, and view the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites as a possession. Then you shall die on the mountain you are about to ascend, and shall be gathered to your people, just as your brother Aaron died on Mount Hor, and there was gathered to his people, because both of you broke faith with me among the Israelites at the waters of Meribah Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. You did not manifest my holiness among the Israelites. You may indeed see the land from a distance, but you shall not enter that land, which I am giving to the Israelites. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Pray. And shut up and listen. I know, I'm so a lovely person. Just shut up and listen. What a rude way to say it. Christ never tells his disciples to shut up and listen. But he does. A lot. Have you been with me all this time and still you do not understand? Don't quote chapter and verse, already quote Jesus. But don't say, well, in Joshua, or don't quote the Old Testament that way, and don't say, well, now, in Paul's letters to the Galatians, he said, just use the words that come from God, and don't worry about if it comes from this chapter or that chapter, from this book or that book, from this verse or that verse. Let the people who want to be learned worry about that. Woe to you, learned man. I'll be as un-Pharisee-like as I can. I will be as anti-theology as I can. Now, I'm a member of a church and I love my church. I'm ashamed of the Protestant faith I had for so long that just didn't even acknowledge Mary at all. We don't talk about Mary. Why? As we have discussed before, even the Quran puts Mary at the very top. She's the most important one in the Bible, in the whole ever existence. So does Christ, for the record. You gotta pay attention about words matter, right? We ain't gonna talk about that right now. When we get back to the New Testament, we'll talk about that. But no matter if you're just listening to me or reading the Bible on your own or reading along with me or whatever you're doing. And no matter, and hey, be real clear, this is the Holy Bible. Okay. You see this? Do you see anywhere on here where there is a version? No. Okay, so I want to be real clear. This is not a King James Version. This is prior to King James Version. Right? This is the Bible as it existed when the church fathers put it together. Since then, there have been books removed. Mostly by one person. The church fathers got together and discussed and debated. And I mean, it was a law. You think they decided all this in like a month? What was canonical, what should be in the Bible as actually from God, versus there was tons of literature about Jesus. He was doing a lot of stuff. A lot of people writing about this guy. They had to decide who actually saw things, who was actually there for things, and who actually belonged in this book. But it wasn't one guy deciding. It was a whole group of people that considered themselves devout to Jesus Christ, that wanted to understand everything they could about the writings. It took them like 100 years. It was a big deal. And one guy comes along later on, a whole lot later on, be clear. Go look him up. Luther is what a lot of people like to call him, but his name was Luther. Spelled a little differently. He changed it to Luther later. He had reasons. Anyway. He decided that those books shouldn't be in the Bible anymore. What did we read in the Old Testament already since we've been reading this? Do not remove one word or add one word to my word. He removed 7 books. One man decided that. One human being, not one apostle or what, just a guy. A guy that desperately wanted to separate his faith from the Catholicism that he had known and that others had known. He wanted to be different. One surefire way to do that was remove books that pointed to things that Catholics believe, but he didn't want to believe. Is what it is, right? But boy, if you're cool with that, I don't know why. And I mean this, I don't know why anyone uses a version of the Bible. What are you doing? You ever watched a movie and then somebody remake it later? Was it the same? Was it just good? Was it better? How often? Let's do that differently. How often do you hear I'm not saying it never happens, right? But with the hundreds of thousands of times it's been done, how often do you hear a song that you knew the original song, right, and you loved it? How often do you hear somebody redo that song and think, well, that's better? How often, when you grew up watching a movie or a TV series that you were in love with, do they remake it and you think, well, they did a good job, it's better than it used to be? The original, y'all. Yeah, it's thick. Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah, there's a lot you gotta unpack. But when I get to heaven, and I'm standing, I'm not saying I'm going to heaven, I don't know where I'm going. I'm saying, when my knee is bent and my head is bowed before my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, so that he can give me my personal judgment on the day I die, before he comes back and reaps everyone and gives us the judgment. Right? When I receive my personal judgment, when I am before my Lord, and I say, I read the Bible every day. And he says, no, you didn't, you skipped some days. I'm like, yeah. But he's not going to say, no, you didn't, because the Bible you read didn't have all my Father's words in it, because someone had removed a great deal of them. I study devoutly your word, Lord. No, you didn't, because there were 7 books missing out of the thing you read. Why'd you do that? Why did you read something, son, that said right on the front that it was a version of a human king? The King James Version? Who'd have... Just for the record, when all this breaking and separating, all this stuff started happening, bad things are going on, whatever. If you removed any part of the Bible, even though people are trying to separate bad, separate, I don't want to be... If you removed part of the Bible, that crap was punishable by death. Because God said you don't add or take away. It wasn't until much later that people decided they could do whatever they wanted to. Read it however they wanted to. Look at the crap we have now. I was trying to make it easier to read. No, you're not. Maybe you as an individual think you are. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is Satan, the great deceiver. Do we remember that that's what he is? A liar, a deceiver. Basically, Satan is the greatest con man of all time. That's what he is. How do you think all them angels are following? When they know God and they knew everything. People act like they didn't know that they were going to lose. Of course they freaking knew they were going to lose. But boy, he convinced them they might not. So if he can take out a bunch of what God said and deliver it in a new package that seems good and deceive a large portion of Christianity, that's him winning. You understand that? He doesn't have to make you evil. Right? He's just got to trick you into thinking you're reading the Bible when you're not. That's all he's got to do. Because you can't possibly get God's Word. Anywho, I love you. Jesus Christ loves you more than I can imagine, than I can perceive, than I can think about. I'm sorry videos taking so long this week, but the readings are long. Y'all have a beautiful, blessed day.